Guys, I want to welcome you to another episode of the Advisory Board Podcast, where we bring insights and actionable data into your franchise to help you grow exceptional brands. And I've got with me no exception to the great roster we've had already this season. I've got Ryan Parsons, who's the CEO of eVive Brands, co-founder with his brother Ken of Brothers That Just Do Gutters. I'm sure you've heard of them before, but the largest gutter business or franchise in the world. I guess should have said N there, right? So
In the
you guys
universe. I mean,
in
why
the
not?
I love it. Yeah, in the universe, 400 territories now acquired recently to be part of the eVive Brands portfolio, and they said, "Hey, Ryan, we want you to lead the whole group." So now Ryan's the CEO of the eVive Brands group as well, which has been, I know, a big transition for you, Ryan.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
can I brag on you for another moment, just so people know why the heck is Ryan here? Because we're going to talk today, guys, about the role of technology and systems in managing and growing franchise ops. Everybody's trying to figure out AUV improvement right now. It's been flat for a lot of businesses, so I hope you'll dial in today because technology is going to be a catalyst for growth, as I'm sure you'll hear from Ryan. But a few things you may not know about this guy, so you can connect with him before we start. Ironically, fine arts, graphics design undergrad, never took a business class in his life, and then after college realized how much he loved building and growing businesses. Father of six, loves his snowmobile, and 614 by the way, so he's a busy dude.
Ah,
You think being a CEO
not
of
kids. Not kids. Units. 614 units, not kids, right?
no, I said six kids under 14.
Oh, under 14. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, 614 kids, that'd be insane. I don't think that's possible. Well, anyway, let's not go down that road. Maybe David or Solomon, right? They might have had that many. But
Exactly.
but anyway, we're gonna let me turn some time over to you, Ryan, before I digress too much. Tell us more just about you, this journey you've had with eVive Brands and Brothers, and then we'll dive right into the topic.
Oh, awesome. So, I mean, we grew brothers. It's our life's work. I mean, it's something that we grew like, from our early 20s. The vision just kept growing to make it bigger. It started out as just like my brother in a gutter truck. I was part of a .com .bomb. I was working graphic design and the company I was working for went out of business. And so I was working with my brother to make some extra money. And
Hmm.
then it turns out like I had a passion for helping him grow his business, not in the sense of hanging gutter more fast or faster with him, but like looking at the business side, like building the first website, looking at, the tech stack before there was such thing or even I knew the word for it, it was like, what about Quicken? Like
Hmm.
it was amazing. And then we had the vision for franchising. We went for it, started franchising it, eventually caught some fire with it and sold a bunch of franchises. And my brother and I were sitting there going, holy cow, like we were thinking about starting our own platform, like, you know what? If we can run brothers and through gutters through that system we created, we can run almost any service brand. And then we kind of looked at the daunting task. I mean, it's one thing to build a franchise from scratch and have success. And then to think of a platform, we're like, you know what? I love that idea, but maybe we could partner with somebody who's already doing that.
Hmm.
And we partnered with Riverside. They had a platform, eVive Brands. The brothers fit perfectly into the game plan. And I got the opportunity to run the whole platform. So it was awesome. We kind of got a head start in the platform game, brothers, three other brands in there and it's awesome. I get to work with franchisors, I get to work with franchisees, all the things that make me happy, and I get to help them build, expand, and do awesome things.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think they've got the right guy for the job, Ryan. I'm excited to see what
I
you guys do
appreciate
in the
that.
next few years. Yeah, yeah, and I mean, it's even though you might feel like you're smaller than, I think everyone's kind of got their eyes on you as you're becoming, mentioned in the same breath as a Neighborly or an HFC or an Authority Brands type
Yeah,
conversation.
that would be awesome. I'd love to be in that same conversation.
Yeah. Well, I think just give it a few years. Give it a few
Oh,
years.
for
I
sure.
know
We're
the
coming.
horsepower. Yeah. So let's talk technology because this is really any brand that's going to grow to be significant is going to have to tackle this at some point. If you
Heck yeah.
could go back in time, Ryan, or have it just a fresh start today, you've obviously learned a lot in the last 22 years of building this business. What would you do differently if you could?
I would I'd get it right on day one. Like it's so funny how many organizations you look at their org chart and they don't have IT on it until they're like mega huge,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
kind of funny. Sales, marketing, all these things. And I'm telling you, if I had to do it over, I would have that person or fractional IT, somebody or some company day one that would build out my tech stack that could think into the future. Like, when you're young and nimble and before you franchise or once you franchise, I mean, you're just proving concept, you're being creative, you're making mistakes, and you make a digital mess. You're like, oh well, we use, Jobber, or I use this over here, I got this free thing, or I kind of use HubSpot. We got QuickBooks Online, but this one used desktop, so we're not going to bother them. And before you know it, you got like this just freaking mess. I
Yeah.
mean, even in your own organization, you find out like two or three people have different licenses to the same thing. It's like, my gosh. Like, so yes, I would definitely invest early on somebody who knows how to build out a tech stack. There's a lot of people that'll sell you software. Hey, you should, HubSpot, or you name it. I don't, any of the things, and but there's not one piece that rules them all. You still need to integrate and figure out what's right for your business. And I got the privilege of hiring a company earlier this year to help us evaluate our tech stack across all platforms
Mhm.
and help find the waste and find where we can have, like you've got, three licenses that this one over here does all of it. We can probably get rid of those and go down to this. So I would say if I could do it all over again, I would find that company who could build it. Like if you were asking them, somebody who's more in IT and
Mhm.
infrastructure than I am, I'd want to know what their perfect tech stack is for the business,
Mhm.
right? So whether it's Gutters or Senior Care or Grayson's, one of the other brands in our portfolio, they have different needs. The same CRM is not going to be good for each one. There's
Mhm.
different nuances. So uh, if I could do it again, that's where I'd start. I would definitely a brand, systems, all that stuff's important. But my gosh, your tech stack and having that information, it's the thing that starts to cripple you as you grow. When you don't have insight into your franchisees and how they're doing, or they got to raise their hand when they need help rather than you seeing the patterns through the numbers.
Yeah, well, you're already starting to answer the next question on my mind, which is why does it matter so much? Like tech stack, you hear people talk about tech stack. I
Yeah.
like to joke around about the Franken stack that we see in the industry
Oh,
as we work.
yeah.
It's yeah, yeah, you're laughing because you know.
Guilty. I mean, it's part of it. It's part of it.
Yeah. So why is it so let's talk about how if you get your tech stack right, what should the tech stack be contributing to the business?
So I look at a good tech stack. Like, I hate using sports analogies because not everybody, watches or likes sports.
Hmm.
But you cannot watch sports without hearing statistics. Everything is a statistic. Their batting average, their 3-point percentage. My kids are like, oh, this guy stinks from the line. He makes 1 out of 5 shots when they're watching basketball. It's amazing. And so, we're business owners. Our franchisees are business owners. And half the time, they don't know the score of the game. They don't
Hmm.
know the KPIs. They
Yeah.
don't know the averages that they should have, whether it's sales or this. So when you've got good data or data, depending on where you're from, um, that you can make such good decisions that aren't emotionally based.
Yeah.
I love it. Nothing worse than getting a call from a salesperson saying, I need help or I'm not doing well. It's like, all right, well, what's your closing rate? Well, I don't know. Well, what's your dollars sold? Well, what's your, these are all KPIs that should be managed and measured. And so what's really cool about having the right data stack and making it frictionless is, and the next thing is I hate when people are tabulating things on their own. They're keeping an Excel sheet and then it's only as
Yeah.
good as what they decided to put in. And so then data integrity becomes the big issue. And then you find yourself as a franchisor, you're like, I don't know what's real. All I know is top line revenue, what they're paying me in royalty. Well, how much are your franchisees making? I don't know.
Mhm.
Well, they seem happy, or some say they're not making money, or others say they're making money. I the right data stack gets rid of all of that. It gets rid of the guesswork. Your franchisees are more independent business owners. You can look and they can look at their KPIs, their dashboards. That's just on the data side to help
Mhm.
make decisions. But then on the client facing stuff, If I'm going out and providing a service, is it easy for our clients to interact with us? Are they able to sign on the spot, or do they got to do jump through hoops? There's so many different complexities. Like if you end up having a call center, what is the CRM? How are the royalties done?
Mhm.
There's an enormous amount of stuff. So I believe, like anything else, the more time you take to have a solid foundation, the bigger you can build that business.
Yeah. Well, and we talk, there are multiple facets here, right? So if you get the right tech stack, where I've seen impact are we've talked about franchisor, right? I've got to have data and visibility into my franchisee's performance, not because I need to know everything possible that it's nice, but it's because you need to know how you can coach those units to
Yeah.
perform better
The
versus their
biggest
peers.
complaint in franchising is support.
Hmm.
And I am the world's best coach when I know what I'm supporting, when I have data.
Yeah.
I'm the world's best sales coach when I can see all the different KPIs. I can hone in immediately to where I believe you need help. But, and that's why people buy a franchise is for support. And a
Hmm.
lot of times people are upset or they start to resent the royalty because they don't feel like they're being supported. And there's no easier way to support a franchisee than we know what's real and what's not.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. With support, that's often where I see there's a gap because this is a typical if you have a poor tech stack with poor data visibility or even moderate data visibility, you'll have this conversation with every support call. Hey Ryan, how are things going? And now we enter into a 15 to 20-minute interrogation where I'm just trying to figure out what's not going well because I don't have a freaking clue as your support person. So
Yeah.
think about the inefficiency. You've got
Oh, brutal.
400 territories, let's say 150 operators, right? You've got a team of 5 people that are full time making these interrogative calls.
Yeah.
What if they just looked at the dashboard and said, "Oh wow, hey Ryan, I noticed that your schedule rate on these inbound leads that you're following up that aren't going through the call center, you're scheduling those at about 25%. Now that might have been nice in a standalone business industry. We know that you should be averaging at least 55%. Can we talk
Yeah.
about what you're doing there? Like one, it's objective, right? So it's really hard for the franchise owner to be like, well, Dave called me and he's being a jerk. No, all the emotions are gone when you're just saying, hey,
Yeah.
compared to your peers, you're not performing as well in this key
Yeah.
metric. Let's dive in and figure out how I can help you.
Absolutely. And if you're a franchisor, I don't think there's a franchisor out there that hasn't heard a franchisee say, I need more leads,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so that's the name of the game. I need more leads. If I had more leads, and while sometimes that's true, often it's not true. And when you can see, like what you just said, so there's different levels of attrition, right? So from the time somebody puts in a request online or makes a phone call, do we get back to them? How many of those do we convert? That's the first level of attrition. And if you don't have data, you have no idea. And if your franchisees aren't tracking, you don't know if they're answering the phone or did they actually have an opportunity to sell something or not. And then we've got close rate after that. So actually, there's even more. So if they
Mhm.
do answer the
Yeah.
phone, are they considering them a tire kicker and not going out where they could have
Yeah.
had an opportunity? And then when they go out, what is their close rate on how are they converting into that? So a lot of times people are saying I need more leads, and they get mad when the marketing department goes, "That's weird. We have 120 conversions. Well, I only have 12 estimates." And again, sometimes it's true,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, how much better for a franchisee to understand their business and they know where to concentrate? Because franchisees, they all work hard.
Mhm.
But it's a matter of if you know the score, you will work different. If you're thinking, oh man, I need more leads, it's like, all right, so then what? I got to go increase my budget. And so it's like, all right, I'm already spending $3,000 a month. Let's go to four. And now I'm still not converting those the problem is possibly your salesperson.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so that's what I love about it. Like data does not have feelings.
Mm-mm.
It's just our job to interpret them. And now with AI and all these different assistants, I mean, you can just ask it, hey, where am I missing opportunities? And it's like, beep, 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 like, here you go. It's
Yeah.
just absolutely amazing. So that's why I like it because at the end of the day, if our franchisees aren't successful, we're not successful. If
Mhm.
we if we have all the cool tools and they don't, it doesn't matter. The goal is that we're providing support and the platform for them to excel in business beyond what they could have done if they started it themselves.
Yeah, amen, amen. That you're spot on. The as much as it's great for the franchisors and the field coaches and everyone to have the data, ideally you want the franchisees to have it first or the
Yeah,
same data because they should be, and that you should be teaching them how to fish with the data. And
absolutely.
then their coaches are true field coaches, right? Like, hey, let's tighten this up, let's tighten that up, and they'll say, oh, I saw the same thing, I was working on it. Like you've got now a
Yeah,
cohesive team playing from the same playbook. But right
love
now,
it.
what I see, and to your point, is a lot of brands don't have a playbook because there's not a common data set. And so
It's true.
the spreadsheet game is not a game to success. I'll
Oh,
just say
I
that.
hear you. I hear you.
Yeah. So talk to me. So we've talked a little bit about why the tech stack matters, data.
Yeah.
You've talked. One other thing that we glazed over, but I want to go back to it is the consumer experience. And we've been
Yeah.
talking about the franchisee experience too, which is I think they're part and parcel. But how can a tech stack improve your user experience at the front end with the brand, so the brand interactions are much stronger?
Drastically. I mean, you just think about the websites and with AI, I mean, it's moving at the speed of light right now. It's so hard to keep up, but the good news is it's getting cheaper and cheaper. You know, it used to be like, hey, we've got this AI that can chat for you for, and now like everyone has an AI that can chat for you. It's just a matter of which voice do you like better,
Yeah.
So yeah, the whole thing is frictionless. And when you're finding out and you're seeing statistics that 72% of homeowners do not want to meet with somebody and some of us are stuck in the way of like, no, I got to meet with somebody. How do we meet them where they're at? How do I make the technology, how do I become the best company to never meet with? How do I make their website experience more frictionless, that the chat is not frustrating, that to schedule an estimate doesn't require necessarily picking up the phone and talking to somebody who might forward you or not have the right thing? How do we optimize routes? How is it easy to buy? Like sometimes, I mean, I've hired some contractors recently. I can't even buy from them. It's like, where do I pay? Like, how do I sign something?
Mhm.
It's amazing that technology creates barriers that affects our close rate, affects how many people buy from us. So whether it's having the right SEO company, the build and architecture of your website, it's
Mhm.
insane that data matters. The right, company that built everything that could make or break you. You could have the best system in the world for inbound leads, but if you're chugging on the website, or people are just frustrated because they don't know what button to click, it doesn't matter. So it literally touches every aspect of it. But my goal is that, by the utmost compliment, if I go back to the gutter business, is when somebody said, I wish you did more than just gutters because I'd hire you for everything because we had such a frictionless, we
Mhm.
gave them a frictionless experience. So, you know, you don't have to go hire a business coach for a ton of money. Your clients are telling you every day what
Mhm.
they would like different. And
Yeah.
we got to listen. Wow, it was really hard to get you on the phone. It was really hard to get a quote. This is really hard for this. Okay, they're telling you where to concentrate on your business. Go do it.
Yeah, that's a great soundbite too. I mean, just listening to the marketplace because it will tell you where you need to strengthen your tech stack, your biz ops, your franchisee performance, your call center operations. Like it should be pretty obvious. In fact, I'll add an insight onto this, but where have you seen or heard that the most? Is there a place you've seen, hey, franchisors focus on looking here or there or listening here for that kind of feedback?
Well, I don't know. Rephrase that question.
Well, so I guess what I'm getting at is that's really important. Like if you have those insights from the consumers,
Oh,
you'll
okay.
know where to focus your energy on fixing that part of the tech stack, right? Or the
Yeah.
biz ops or whatever needs to be fixed. But where are you hearing that? Like what platforms or channels is that data coming in from, and how are you capturing it and then sharing it?
Well, if you're a business doing business, your number one goal is to get Google reviews, right? Because that
Yep.
builds your SEO rank, it gets you the authority and all that kind of stuff. So right there, and then there's other platforms that you can get reviews a little bit more of your process. I believe one of the brands uses Guild Quality, and that gives them insight into their experience. Did they call on it? So you can kind of ask them to your experience, what was good, what was bad. And then there's NPS scores and all that other kind of stuff. So
Right.
there's a lot of it, but typically they're telling somebody. And sometimes it's to their face, my gosh, like this has been really ridiculous. Or, so you've got to look at all those different ways, but typically your most negative reviews are your biggest opportunity to improve something in your business. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of franchisees or anybody, they try and scrub their reviews. They give them a link, and if it gives them less than a 5 star, it kind of kicks back. Hey, I see you weren't completely satisfied. It's what are you doing with that? Are you just
Mm.
fishing for 5 stars? Are you actually fishing for reasons to improve your business? And if you're fishing for reasons to improve your business, you should welcome that 3 and 4 star. Nobody wants them,
Yep.
but what was it, and is there truth to it? Because I would say
Yeah.
there are a small portion that you'll never please somebody, but the rest of them, they're giving you gold. They're giving you gold for free. They actually paid you, and now they're giving you gold after that on what you can do better for the next person.
Yeah, you are spot on. So as an organization, I mean, we're software company, right? But we had people that were giving us Google reviews. We weren't asking for them. For us, it's more valuable to get reviews elsewhere, but for any service-based
Oh
company,
yeah,
you want those Google reviews. Well, what we found was a significant trend. We did something very similar. We kind of analyzed the 57 or so that organically came in, and even the ones that were coming into the platforms like Capterra and other places where we were driving them, and we started to see a massive trend across them. One like people were thrilled with the support and the data and the success and the automations, all that stuff, right? So we're like, okay, these are things we're doing well. And then there are a couple
keep
of places
doing.
like, hey, this isn't as awesome as we thought. And we're like, okay, let's focus energy on that and make that go away. Like, so it became a strategic roadmap for us, just listening, not just to the reviews, but also customer feedback and documenting that
Heck yeah.
internally, and then having a place to review that in kind of a ticketing system. It's franchise. There's no reason why your brand, anyone's brand, can't do the same thing.
No, and it's as simple as an exit interview, depending on the volume of your business. Some businesses, some franchises, they're dealing with a few, 8 to 10 clients a month, right? So after you land the contract or after you've done business, like, hey, how is it that I earned your business?
Yeah.
Write that down. Why did they choose you? Like, why aren't we asking that after every sale? How is it that we earned your business? That is gold. Now take
Hmm.
that data and go keep doing it. And then when you close a project, and I know for software, you're hoping to never close a project, right? You want them in perpetuity to keep using you. But in a lot of businesses, I think of senior placement. You've placed somebody, how did it go? What was well? What could we do better? Right?
Yeah.
If you can ask every time, can you imagine the amount of information that we would gain? And again, bring it right back to the data stack. They keep saying it's so hard to use the website. Okay. And
That's
then there we know where to push our resources.
hmm Yeah, no, I totally hear you on that one. And then these steering it back toward tech stack, like often these things are all related to things that can be solved with improvements in the tech stack. Oh, it was hard
Yes.
to get scheduled. Whoops. Guys, let's break down the scheduler tool we got now. Let's fix it. Or
Yep.
your guy showed up 3 hours late. Huh. Well, let's work on communications between our technicians and the consumers and make sure if they're going to be late, they know how
They
to
always
communicate.
forget to call. Well, how do we automate that?
Yeah. Hmm. Got a few ideas for you. We can talk about that off mic, but anyway, yeah. So you're spot on. That's exactly how you should be analyzing the flow, and then you find the holes. And if it's a tech solution, then you solve it there. If it's a process solution, you solve it there. But these are places where you guys all should be actively listening to the marketplace and then making adjustments to your business operations, including your
Yeah.
tech.
And you know what I didn't realize was such a big deal was deciding if you're a Microsoft or a Google operating system. It's a freaking pain in the butt
Huh.
when you start dealing with both of them and what doesn't talk well. And if you're in, all right, we got Teams and SharePoint and all this stuff over here, but it doesn't play nice with all this stuff over here. Well, I got Google infrastructure, but it stinks in Excel. Like I'm trying to do a spreadsheet. It is amazing that that actually matters. And, a lot of people have preferences and I'm leaning more and more towards Google because it was only built for cloud, where Microsoft they're trying to please two masters over there, and you end up building a lot of little add-ons. Your tech stack gets a little bit more complicated because you want this to connect with that. So I know I don't know enough to talk proficiently there, but that was a big surprise to me. is, especially being in a platform, like, all right, it's like,
Yeah.
hey, when they're available? I don't know. I'm so sick of sending emails with my availability. I'm like, just look at my calendar. So there's just little tiny frustrations that if you can get it right in the beginning, and I'll tell you this right now, there's no bigger nightmare than migrating 20, 50, 100 franchisees
Yeah.
to a different CRM or platform. It's not that you shouldn't do it. You should absolutely do it if it's not, if your tech stack and your CRM's not working. But if you're smaller, my goodness, now is the time to get as much right as possible.
Oh yeah. No, you're spot on. I mean, well, as you can imagine, I've been involved in a lot of those migrations,
Oh no, I
and
know it.
it's so much easier for everyone when it's 20 or under units, right? Like when a franchise brand wises up and says, okay, this tech stack is not scalable to 2 to 3, 400 units. We've got to fix it. And then, but I've worked with some brands that they're in the middle of transitioning to our CRM, to Microsoft, to like, and they're migrating 5 or 6 things at once. And I don't know when they're
Brutal.
sleeping at night because it's
No,
so
it's
hard.
brutal. So
Make
much
it,
work and it's so much rub on your franchisees. It's so much change at once.
Mhm.
And it's always for progress. But if you can do anything, I mean, this is a given now. I mean, whatever CRM you have, as long as it is, cloud-based, open API, webhooks, things like that, you own your data, it makes it easier. Because at the end
Mhm.
of the day, as long as it's not a closed architecture, you can't get your stuff and all this, stuff that was probably not as prevalent today.
Yeah.
I'm finding it's not as big of a deal as it used to be. It's like they do it every day. There's teams that do it. As long as A is A over here and A over here, we can move things.
Mhm.
So I'm less scared of it than I have been in the past because I think, people are getting better at it. It's still painful.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And as you mentioned earlier, 20 minutes ago, like the best time to figure out figure out your tech stack is day one. Like really invest some more time and effort into that today. Because
And think 5 years, like with your tech stack, you
Mhm.
gotta be long-term vision. You can't think, what problems does it solve today? It's like, all right, well, things are changing. Will it expand in the future? Like in 4 or 5 years when AI is what it's gonna be? And like, is this something that and if you're thinking of a company, there's a lot of startups out there, but like, do you want to risk it in somebody, because there's some exciting stuff I've seen out there that's built AI first, but they
Mhm.
just don't have a lot of runway. They've built some slim, slick stuff, but do I want to, base my franchisee success on a startup? Or do I
Mhm.
want to kind of go with some more tried and true players that might pivot slightly slower?
Mhm.
You're seeing some of the big guys, they're not as nimble because they've got all this infrastructure they've built. But when they do, they're not going anywhere. And you
Yeah.
know that their goal is to there. So a lot to consider.
Oh yeah. Well, and let's talk about the perpetual challenge of technology and franchising is just a lot of stuff isn't designed to operate in a franchise
Oh, it's
environment. Like
not.
yeah.
It's
What are the
it's simply
nuances?
not.
Tell us what you've run into there.
Oh, well, there's some really good. I'm not gonna badmouth a brand that we had a really bad experience with because at the end of the day, if we weren't answering the phone for our franchisees, it would have been fine. But they did not have a master tenant mode where
Mhm.
in a call center I could easily distribute leads or I could answer in the right tenant based on a phone call. It was a
Mhm.
disaster and a nightmare. So just something as simple as that. If you plan on adding a call center someday, if you've got franchisees and they're just getting their own phone number and you don't have voice over IP or no insight, it's just like it's amazing. But yes, there's a lot of software out there that's great for one up, like out of the box, like something like Jobber.
Yeah.
If I'm just a one up service guy, Jobber all day
Great.
long.
Yeah.
But if I'm growing a franchise, I'm not using Jobber. You
Mm-mm.
know, it's got some great out of the box stuff that some of even the major competitors in that space, but it does not scale for franchising at this point. So you
Mhm.
have to definitely make sure that you're working with brands that understand and have a track record of franchising. They can show you, oh yeah, we've done something similar for a similar type of company for this company over here. And then you go
Right.
talk to them. How is
Yeah.
it? What's good? What's bad?
Yeah, I find, well, franchising technology, you've got to do what you just said. I just want to reiterate that, right? As Ryan's describing, there's a gap. in tech architecture. This is like a fundamental layer. And I don't need to say any specific names. Pretty much any big boy in the CRM space, pick them. They all don't. None of them have the architecture that really supports the parent-child multi-tenant
It's true.
architecture. They're good at a lot of stuff. I mean, I've been an admin over, a lot of these guys. I've stood up Dynamics. I've been an admin over Salesforce. Like these were great CRMs, but at the end of the day, unless you're a pharmaceutical or a software sales company, like buyer beware. Like they're not designed to do what you need them to do. And the data is all screwed up because it's like one big data blob. And if somebody sneezes on the back end, two territories might merge accidentally. And good luck unclustering that, right?
It's true. It's
Yeah.
true.
No, but you said something really important at the end there. A lot of what you're sharing is really important. So I hope you guys are taking note. But talk to us a little bit about the well, you talked about scalability, but the data, like the data is the biggest challenge. If you have the wrong tech stack and it's not doing what you need it to do, you don't have multi-tenant, like how do you get the data out of that mess?
You you're relying heavily on your franchisees to give you the right data. Then you're relying on your ability to grab that, throw it into an Excel sheet or something, or run a report. There's nothing worse than running, like if you got 20 franchisees and the only way you can see into their business is running by 20 reports or asking your FBC after they've done 20 meetings that month, how is everyone doing? I mean, that's what it comes down to is like sometimes the data is decent, but it's only on the franchisee level.
Hmm.
And you don't have oversight where you can just have a dashboard. Like if you've ever like gone into Google Analytics, I mean, I used to love it when I used to build out the campaigns. I could see, oh my gosh, look at this darker circle over here. We're crushing it with these keywords. And you could dig and dig and dig. I mean, that's what we want. We want to be able to see kind of broad stroke, yellow, red, green. Oh, what's going on in the Midwest? We're seeing some action over here. I picture Minority Report. It's like shoot, shoot, where,
Yeah.
at a glance, I can get an idea. And same for a franchisee. This is not just at the franchisor level. I want our franchisees at a glance to go, wow, our placements are really they're going down this month across the whole Midwest, but everywhere else it's strong. Dig. Okay. Oh, it's actually these 4 locations, and these are the mature locations. Dig. Like that's what we want. We want to be able to not misdiagnose, anything or say, oh my gosh, placements are down this month. Everybody. No, it's like, no, it's a it's a regional thing for some reason,
Hmm.
right? How much better are we as a franchisor? How much better are our franchisees when they have that kind of data?
Yeah. And you said it, but when you can regionalize the data, because
Oh, it's
friend,
huge.
I mean, if you were looking at, if let's say you were an exterior painting company, or
Uh-huh.
anyone who did anything to the outside of a home, frankly, inside of a home in Florida, like that
Oh,
region, that southeast region in the last 2 months has been wrecked, right? With this awful
yeah.
weather and anyone who's operating those businesses, unless you're doing roofing or disaster recovery, who are probably like through the roof, pun intended, right now. Um, Everybody else is struggling, right? And so if you were to look at your
Yeah.
numbers, like we're down 3%, what's happening? Then you say,
Yeah.
oh, regionally, never mind. We're down 87% in Florida right now.
Yeah.
And that's a huge market for
And
like,
how cool if you've got that historic data and you go, well, the last time a hurricane went through, yep, we saw a blip. And then, oh my gosh, 3 months later,
yeah.
look at what they did. And
Hmm.
now we can coach to it. Say,
Right.
guys, you're in the storm, but there's, hold steady, keep marketing because it's coming. That wave, once they get rebuilt, my goodness, there's an upturn for you coming.
Exactly. Hey, here's a new campaign. Nurture anyone who's gotten a quote from you in the last 90 days. Just say, we know
Oh,
things are crazy. Let us
oh,
know if we can, like,
and
yeah,
we didn't
that's,
even touch on automation. My goodness, just
yeah.
the amount of touches that you can automate on your franchisee's behalf is just incredible.
Yeah, well, let's go down that road for a minute. That's a great parting area. We can kind of wrap up on this. So we've
Sure.
talked about structure and data and visibility and all these things, right? But let's talk a little bit about automations, like how critical they are. What are things that you recommend automating? And also, where do you recommend not? Because that's a big question a lot of people have struggled to answer. They try to automate too
Yeah.
much and then they tick people off. So
Yep.
go ahead and riff on that. Tell us more.
Yeah. Automate everything you possibly can.
Hmm.
That does not provide a lesser experience for the client. So chat is getting really good and smart. You can have, I'd actually almost prefer it, except when I call Xfinity. It's the worst experience ever.
Yeah,
But
and
I've had some chat experiences where I'm like, man, if this is AI, I'm in.
Yeah,
This
bring it
was
on.
fast. I didn't have to repeat my problem 7 times to 3 different people. Automate it,
Right.
right? I don't want to throw another human at something that a piece of technology or computer can do better. But I don't want to throw a piece of technology at something that a human should be doing, right? So if somebody's
Mhm.
calling up and they want to talk to somebody, I want to have somebody there. I want to do business the way they want to do business. So it's kind of a non-answer, but it can only enhance the experience for the end user. That is the kind of stuff I would automate.
Yeah. And let's talk about the delineation there. So it's funny because you and I think very similarly. I coach people on this, like, well, what are humans better at? Where should a human be in charge of the process, and where should he not be in charge of the process?
Yeah.
What have you found in your journey as you're trying to build more automations into your brands?
Um, Silly things like somebody sorting through web forms and calling somebody. That's idiotic at this
Yeah.
point, right?
Hmm.
So there's like some like, my gosh, we could do that easier. Trying to, after hours, like waiting till the next day to connect, call somebody because they submitted a web form. So a lot of the conversion stuff, like where people are looking for you and just because it's 3 a.m., they're just like, oh, you know what? I'm thinking about gutters all of a sudden. How cool to automate that process to nurture it after you've given a quote, nurture that. But again,
Hmm.
a follow up phone call, I want that to be from the salesperson.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
I would want to automate it to say, hey, Ryan, you told Dave that you were going to call 2 days. It's been 2 days. Click here to call Dave. Like,
Hmm.
okay, done. Hey, man. It's like, how can we, yeah, like you said, what do the humans do better? And once we can't do it better, why are we trying?
Yeah, I agree with you, man. The top of funnel stuff, like data input, anything where data's moving around, like humans are the worst at that. They screw stuff up, they fat finger, they don't get it done in time. Like data transfer, leads flow into the system. It's 2024, it's almost 2025. For heaven's sakes, if your leads aren't automatically populating into your system and triggering some sort of automated follow-up, and if you're
Yeah.
not using text messaging today, like get out from under your rock. Like that is a
Yeah.
total game
And
changer.
and sometimes you're under that rock because your hands are tied with just crap technology,
Right. Yeah.
And I wish it was that easy. You're like, oh, okay, let's just fix it. But then when you start getting into your data architecture, you're like, holy cow, I can't even automate that without, getting a third party program and having it direct and building a SQL server that, it's like crazy some of the crap we've done over the years to
Yeah.
try and automate something because it didn't do it in CRM or it
Right.
didn't do it in some other spot. So I feel bad. I wish it was easy as what we're saying, but I feel bad for people that have the Franken tech stack because
Hmm.
it's not easy to get out from under it, but you have to
Yeah. It's worth every penny because you're
every
spending
penny.
you're also, it creates bloated spend. You mentioned it earlier. We had an auditor come in. He's like, oh, they helped you guys scrape out some of the bloat in the tech budget.
They found like at least $100,000 across 4 brands and stuff. So that's and the parent company eVive. It was like, my gosh, and some just duplicate stuff. Just bunch of people with Monday accounts. It's like let's go get one master account. Let's all this kind of silly stuff.
Yeah. And that's just the beginning. But they talk
Oh,
about the tech bloat. Then you talk about the human capital waste because of
yeah.
inefficiencies. And then you talk about the impact of that on the performance and lead conversion. Or like at some point you get to scary numbers where you're like, it would be idiotic to not invest to fix the issue, right? Like
Yeah.
it really becomes that obvious if you analyze it properly
Sooner than later,
sooner than later. If you could turn back the hands of time, right?
do
Yeah.
that first.
So we've talked about scary stuff and big stuff, Ryan. What would you say, parting two thoughts, things that we've talked about, recap, or even net new things we haven't discussed? What should somebody take away from this episode after listening to it?
I mean, the tech stack matters just as much as marketing and sales and frandev. I mean, a lot of us franchisors, we get so rope-a-doped onto just wanting to sell more units. But guess what? After they launch, we got to support them, right?
Yeah.
So selling units, I get it. It's important, but get that foundation right so that they can maximize, anything that I can do to add 1 more % to their net profit. I'm in. That's the whole goal. How can I take some bloat, take some friction, fix it, and now they get another 1% in their bottom line because it's getting easier, it's getting better.
Hmm. Yeah, totally love it. Well, great focus. Ryan, You've been fantastic. If somebody wanted to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you if they had questions or wanted to pick your brain?
LinkedIn. Hit me up on LinkedIn. That would be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, excellent. Well, Ryan, thanks for being a great guest today. I appreciate all the insights, man. I don't often have a guest on that I'm like in lockstep with the entire time. So appreciate that about you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll do it again. Thanks.